Hi everyone, my name is Deirdre Morgan. I'm a musician, performer, ethnomusicologist, and all-around music enthusiast. I got into music from a really young age. My family was really supportive and they put me in music lessons when I was actually a toddler. My first music class was a rhythm for toddlers class. And then from there, at the age of 4, my mother became my first piano teacher. And I ended up studying classical piano in the Canadian system from the ages of 4 to 18. And I was a piano teacher briefly when I was 18 years old. I had a little studio of 5 students. My journey in music to where I am now as someone who is a music teacher and who works with a lot of up and coming musicians as my profession, I got there through being really interested in music history and through music as something that's embedded in culture. So, when I was a teenager, when I was studying piano, we had to take these extra courses on the side about history and theory of music. And I got really interested in those history classes and really curious about the lives of the composers and the cultural contexts and historical contexts in which they were actually writing the music. Why did they write this piece of music? What happened in their lives that year? What was happening in the world? What was happening in their country that year? I got really, really curious about the people behind the music. And that curiosity kind of got pushed to the side because I really wanted to be a professor. I always wanted to be a writer. I thought that I would become a professor of literature. What ended up happening is I went to UBC to do my undergraduate studies, and I couldn't choose a major, so I ended up majoring in interdisciplinary studies because I have so many different interests across the arts. And in the last year of my undergraduate degree, where I studied literature, film studies, and creative writing, in the 4th year, I just missed music so much and I really wanted to get back into it. And I discovered the discipline of ethnomusicology. So that is the study of music and culture, or music within culture, not just the notes themselves, but what is behind the notes, how the notes come to be. I ended up doing a master's degree in ethnomusicology at UBC. And I got really interested in a specific musical instrument called the Jew's harp, jaw harp, mouth harp. It's known by many different names in different languages around the world. It's found in many, many different cultures. It's a mouth resonated instrument, which means you hold it up to your mouth, you pluck it, doesn't make much noise on its own, but when you use your mouth cavity as a variable resonator, you can make all kinds of different noises and pitches and rhythms and effects. So I got obsessed with this instrument in 2005. I was in my early 20s. And I got really obsessed with meeting the other people who played it and finding the other people who played it. So as I was teaching myself how to play, because let me tell you, it is not easy to find a teacher to learn with for this instrument, especially in Western Canada, where I am. As I kept researching, I found that there were festivals around the world, particularly in Europe, that were totally devoted to this instrument and to related overtone producing instruments like the didgeridoo, throat singing, overtone singing, that kind of thing. So I began traveling around and performing at these different festivals around the world. A really big highlight for me was the 2011 trip to Siberia. So that was for the 7th International Jew's Harp Congress and Festival, and that took place in Yakutsk, which is the capital city of the Sakha Republic in the Russian Federation, the eastern side. That was amazing. I met so many people who I had only seen on the internet until that point. I'd only seen their YouTube videos, or we'd been friends on Facebook but had never met in person. So I got really interested in these musical communities and in this revival of this instrument that's kind of obscure. Not a lot of people play it, but the ones who do are extremely passionate about it, myself included. We just think it's the greatest thing ever. And we like to hang out together and be really nerdy together and listen to each other play. So, coming from that classical piano background, also sort of an academic literary background, and then returning back to music through this unusual instrument has been my path. In terms of becoming a professional, I've really moved into the education side of things, as I always wanted to from when I was a kid. I have basically been like teaching and tutoring since I was a kid, and it was always pretty obvious to me that that was going to be a big part of my career path. So the question for me was always, how do you make a life in music? How do you make an alternate career that maybe isn't 100% performance focused, where performance is one of the facets of it, but there's also other elements to that career. So I started actually by working in arts administration. I worked for a number of classical performing arts organizations around Vancouver: Pacific Baroque Orchestra, Vancouver International Song Festival, Musica Intima, Festival Vancouver. And through that, I gained a lot of skills about how to write grants, how to market music, especially music that has a niche audience, that doesn't have maybe that really mainstream appeal, which, looking at the instrument that I work with the most, you can see that that's a really big part of it. So I spent about 5 years working in arts administration, gaining tons of transferable skills. That was after I finished my master's in ethnomusicology. I went into arts admin. And from there, I decided that my obsession and fascination with this instrument and the people who played it just wasn't going away. And I just needed to keep doing my research. So I applied to do my PhD at the School of Oriental and African Studies, SOAS, at University of London in the UK. And I went to London for 4 years, and I did a big research project for my dissertation where I studied the Jaw Harp revivals in Norway, Austria, Sicily, and online through social media. At the end of my PhD, a job opening came up at Vancouver Community College in the music department, and that was teaching their ethnomusicology classes, and I got that job. And since then, I have found that I absolutely love working at a community music school specifically, even though my own training is very much at like larger research universities. I really like the intimate setting, the community setting of working in a smaller music school, and really being able to work with people in much more of a mentoring kind of relationship, one-to-one, really getting to know the musicians and where they're at, what their needs are, what their goals are, and kind of meeting them where they're at. So it's extremely exciting for me and rewarding for me to be part of the Emergence mentorship program, because it's something I feel really strongly about. I also feel really strongly about supporting emerging women and women identifying or non-binary identifying musicians who are up and coming in the community, and particularly those who play musical instruments or have some form of musical expression that is not something that is typically seen in the mainstream. So I'm kind of here to say, you can do it. In terms of the ups and downs, I would say the biggest challenges with my path have just been finding my people, really, and finding the right fit for me to have my life in music that's in integrity with my own values. So I would say for up and coming musicians, don't waste your time trying to get approval or trying to impress people who don't get you. Your people are out there, the people who will be as excited about what you do as you are, or at least willing to learn or willing to listen or willing to give you a shot. They're out there. So find those people. In my case, I had to travel literally around the globe in some cases to find those people. And it was absolutely worth it. It was worth all the having to save up and everything, apply for grants to do my studies and all of that stuff. It was absolutely worth it and still very much a part of my life. I think I've already mentioned highlights. I would say I'm in a highlight right now. I get to teach a variety of music courses at Vancouver Community College and at Simon Fraser University, where I teach a world music course. I teach courses on social media for self-employed musicians. I teach courses in music history and ethnomusicology, and also a little bit of musicianship classes in our immersion program. So I feel really lucky. I feel like I have a really well-rounded life right now. One of the biggest challenges is actually finding time to get back to the performance end of things for me, because I spend so much time on the educational side and the administrative side, and sometimes the behind the scenes side, or even just the research and writing with the academic side. Those are multiple full-time jobs right there. So yeah, trying to find that balance. If you are somebody who's a little bit more interdisciplinary with your artistic life, that's something that I love to talk to folks about and sort of strategize around time management and how to make sure that you are fulfilling these different areas of your life that you need to feel like a well-rounded artist and human being. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you all this year, and good luck.